Hello and welcome back to Excedo Playback, the podcast discussing industry news, trends, and tech advancements in the streaming and OTT industry. I'm your host, Neil Van Zyl. Something that's become more important over the last few years as churn has become more prevalent for OTT services is the ability to retain users. There's a variety of methods you can try to do this, but one of the better methods, of course, is to provide increased interactivity and engagement opportunities within a service. So here with me today to speak about this is Vishal Parikh, the Chief Product Officer at LiveLike. Vishal, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate you jumping on today. Let's just take it easy right at the start. Why don't you just give a high-level overview of what LiveLike is?
Awesome. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. Excited to be talking about this topic. A little bit about LiveLike. LiveLike is an audience engagement and interactivity platform. It's a SaaS platform. It's a B2B platform that offers a variety of tools and capabilities, enabling features in the interactivity, audience engagement, gamification space. And we work with a lot of media, sports, entertainment clients, as well as some clients in other industries. But the media, sports, and entertainment industry is sort of our bread and butter. We work with the likes of Golden State Warriors, Chelsea Football Club, etc. So we have some pretty awesome clients that we work with, and we're always looking to expand. And yeah, so that's the platform, that's the company. Happy to dive right into it.
What exactly, this is a broad question, but what is engagement and interactivity when taken in the context of OTT or video?
Yeah, so to me, and to LiveLike, interactivity and engagement is when your users are actually interacting and spending time, actively spending time on your platforms. And I like to differentiate where there might be users that turn on a live stream for a sporting event, for example, and just leave it running around in the background. You might be streaming it to your Chromecast device on your living room TV, and you could be, streaming that video, and that company counts you as an active user. But interactivity and engagement really differentiates that kind of user versus the user who is actually active on your platform, that is interacting with features on a frequent basis, so that you know that they are actively on your platform versus, they might be in the kitchen making a sandwich while the stream is going on. So I think interactivity and engagement really differentiates what I would call active versus passive viewers. And I think there's a lot of benefits in thinking that way.
It's interesting that you talk about that specifically, how it's, I guess, bringing the user actually to be more active with the platform. Is that what I should say is, how are your customers leveraging this? Are they leveraging this as a method to upsell so that they get extra ways to monetize, or are they using this as a way to maintain user engagement within the platforms for the most part?
Yeah, so I think the way that I think about it, there are a few different benefits that introducing interactivity and engagement to your platforms could be considered. I think one of the benefits is, like you mentioned, the more engaging of an audience you have, and interactive experiences that you have on your platforms, there are more opportunities that your sales and partnerships teams have to work with their partners or bring on advertisers and sponsors onto the platform that introduce additional revenue capabilities that you may not have had, or you have existing partners and they're looking for more inventory on the platform to be able to throw their logo on. So I think adding these interactive and engaging experiences creates a lot of opportunity in the sponsorship and advertising space. I think the other benefit is capturing first party and zero party data about your users, and having that relationship direct with the user can only go so far when you have registration, subscription, and for example, video content and on your platform. But introducing interactivity and gamification and engaging experiences are additional ways that you can capture more first-party and zero-party data. For example, if you had a quiz or a poll, for example, that you introduced while a live stream is going on, it creates that interactivity and engagement. But you're also getting data from that user about what they might prefer, or what their sentiment is, or what kind of fan they are. Are they in the sports context? Are they a hyper fan, or are they sort of a lean back, just enjoying the sport kind of fan? So I think there's the added benefit of understanding more about your users and using that data to further personalize the experience, to enhance your marketing strategies, to enhance your advertising strategies. And so I think there's the added benefit of that additional data. And I'd say maybe if I were to pick a third, the third benefit of adding interactivity and gamification is around the happiness factor that the customer has. And I think creating positive experiences and additional ways for the user to engage with your platform and have a positive experience could increase their happiness with your platform, which obviously correlates with retention and LTV, and then correlating back to like session length and return of user and all those other metrics. And so I think increasing that CSAT score is something that could also be a benefit of adding positive, engaging, interactive experiences to your platforms.
So at one point we were talking there quickly. You talked about how sports is bringing gamification in. Is the way, I guess, brands or media enterprises leveraging engagement vary based on the vertical? Like, are you seeing different things from sports versus entertainment versus maybe finance?
For sure, yeah. So I think even within the sports versus entertainment, and when I say sports versus entertainment, I mean all sports should be entertaining. But I'm thinking of streaming services that have movies and TV shows versus sports streaming platforms that have live games, clips, highlights, etc. I think there's definitely a different perspective, a different priority, a different way that you would launch interactive and engaging experiences. In the entertainment space, you're considering more VOD content, for example, more subscription based businesses, and so maybe less advertising and sponsorship opportunities, but more interactive experiences related to giving your feedback on that episode or rating the movie, for example, or even while the episode reality TV show is going on. You can have polls that go to the audience, and that those polls can be capturing data to then visualize in the episode if it's a live stream, for example. And we've done that with Globo in Brazil, for example. So I think on the entertainment use case, there's a different tactic and a different application, still utilizing the same platform capabilities that we provide, but just manifesting in different ways for different use cases and different contexts. And then I think in the sports use case, there's a lot of, especially for the sports businesses and broadcasters that have live streaming, there's different use cases for that environment, right? And you have more of a live chat, for example, and you want like everyone to be cheering on their team, and so you might have a cheerleader that you have as a competition of who, which team has more fans in this live stream, and there's prediction questions like who's going to make the next goal, and users can make their predictions and then see how they fared and get points that climb up the leaderboard. And I would also say the audience for sports versus entertainment is differentiated, which needs to be incorporated into product strategy, where sports fans are usually more attuned and more accustomed to more gamification, more competitiveness. And I think having leaderboards where users climb up and fight to be at the top is natural for that fan base versus users that are watching Game of Thrones, and they're more interested in the storyline, the drama, and sort of those wow factors. And so I think I think the context definitely matters. The industries have brought out different use cases that we've had to support, and we're happy to say that we have achieved product market fit, and we have solutions in market today that have proven to be catered for those different industries and audiences, and it's really fun to see how some of these enterprise customers use our toolkit to produce these different kinds of experiences into their platforms.
One thing I've noticed for certain is that we've started to see an increase in the way content providers or different brands are looking to engage with different social experiences, whether that's like little mini social media experiences or again, like you said, just even gamification in general. Are there any newer trends that you're seeing or coming up that LiveLike's looking to experiment with and add into its product or products?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that come to mind. As it relates to community experiences, we are seeing an increase in the desire to want users and fans to be able to connect with each other and around similar preferences or likes. For example, with Bleacher Report, we're working with them on leveraging our infrastructure from a community standpoint so that their users can um, follow each other as well as follow different talent that's on the platform. And then leveraging that capability to then personalize the experience where users are getting notified about, their whoever they follow did certain actions on the platform. They commented on a specific post that might be of interest to you, and so leveraging those social graph that we provide, I think is an example of how we're looking forward and figuring out additional ways to enhance that community experience and that demand or desire for these brands to let their users want to connect with each other. I think the other few things that come to mind, one of them is around AI and what that has done in the industry as a whole. And so I think, where traditionally our platform has been used for content creators to come in and create the content like polls and quizzes, prediction questions that require that content manager to have knowledge of the specific sport or the content, maybe even historical context, so that they can incorporate into a quiz, like how many three pointers did Steph Curry have this season so far. That requires the content manager to know all of that information, to then think of that question and pair that up with what's happening with the game and publish that question. Where AI, we're working with a few different AI solutions that we've built in house to enhance and improve that content creation journey, where we're leveraging the stats data that we're getting in from stats providers like StatCore, Performance, Sports Radar, and we're able to generate using LLMs some of these questions on the fly that could help the content creator have some ideas on what questions to launch. And it could be a poll, it could be a quiz. This AI capability, this Gen AI capability will also provide incorrect answers that are close to the correct answer. And that was something that we had to overcome and iron out as well. And these types of capabilities really go a long way with our clients, because one of the friction points has been how much effort does it take to actually come up with the content, create the content, and publish it. And by that time, the moment could be gone. And so how can we shorten that time? How can we lower the effort? And how can we make it relevant for what's happening in the stream and get it out to users faster? So that's another area that we're exploring as future trends, that I would say has been helpful for us and where we've gone. And then the third area, which is probably the biggest area that we've focused on lately and we're continuing to focus on more, is on the loyalty and rewards piece. And I think that ties everything that we've been offering together really well, because incentivizing users to take the actions that you want them to take, whether it's watching a video, registering for an account. Registering for an account is a heavy ask, and it's asking the user to give you their email address. Sometimes there's a lot of friction in that flow, but if you tell the user you'll get 500 points if you do that, and it'll already start you off on the first status tier, that might move the needle significantly on how what that conversion is like. And so we're finding more ways to offer in our platform the ability for these brands to supercharge their loyalty, but also rewards the ecosystem. And I'm happy to say that we are live with a few clients, including the New York Mets, where the reward store is something that we power. It's a new addition to the platform, and it's for the ability for the New York Mets fans to redeem exclusive experiences, such as movie night at City Field, for in exchange for a set number of points, and that all is powered by LiveLike. And so you can think of the full life cycle. You can use our interactivity, you can use our mini games, for example, like Wordle. We've built a Wordle version, and we've also built prediction games, trivia games. And so as your users interact and engage with your platforms, you're rewarding them for it with points, and they can then use those points to redeem experiences with. And the fact that we can power that whole ecosystem now has been really powerful for our clients, and we see a lot of return on that investment, but also a lot of adoption. And I think my prediction is, 2025, it's going to become more table stakes for a lot of these sports and media and entertainment clients to have loyalty and rewards programs. But the last thing I'll say about this topic is, we've had airline loyalty, we've had hotel loyalty, we've had credit card loyalty, and sort of the bare bones of those strategies is, we as consumers have a lot of options when it comes to traveling, airlines, staying at hotel chains, and even eating at restaurants. Tao Group has launched their rewards platform now. And with that choice and the limited time that we all have, these rewards programs start to move push people in that direction, saying, hey, I could get, if I spend this credit card on gas, I get double points. And if I go to this restaurant, I have this status with them. And so they comp me a dessert, for example. Why is streaming content any different? I mean, we all recognize that we have many ways that we can consume content. We have a slew of apps that are out in the marketplace to consume content. Even if you consider the big streamers out there, Disney Plus, Max, Netflix, Peacock. Those are four right there, for example, that users, if I'm sitting down on the couch, I'm going to say, okay, which one of these apps am I going to watch content on? And sometimes the content will make the decision, but most of the times these days, there's so much competition out there. What's going to differentiate, a user, rather a company, and loyalty programs might be the answer. And so we've launched this successfully with a few different clients in the sports space. And I think, along with that prediction I made, I think you'll see more brands launch loyalty programs in the space in 2025. And we're proud to be sort of leaders in the space with these enterprise clients.
Lots to unpack there. I have a lot of thoughts just because you shared a lot of really cool information there. I'll start with your first point, where you were touching on more about the community engagement experiences. I believe it was a New York Times article where they recently said in 2023, Instagram had more photos sent over direct message than posted over the actual social media service. So people are starting to gravitate away from just the general publication of content to their own communities. And I think that's where these community experiences within entertainment and sports applications are going to become really, really important, because people are looking for more fans of the same content, the same stuff, where they can share together in these actual groups. So I think that's really fascinating.
I think along lines of community exchanges that we power, also related to the social media learnings, we are actually leaning in on and tying it back to the loyalty and rewards program. We have the ability to reward users for social media activity. So, we recognize that social media platforms are here to stay. And so for these brands that have audiences on social media platforms and that want to grow that social media audience and engagement on the social media platforms like Instagram, we are able to, with the integrations that we've done and the capabilities that we provide, we're able to reward users for liking a post or adding a specific hashtag on their posts. And so now we're not discouraging these brands from, or rather, these brands are not discouraging users to use social media and come onto their own operating platform. we recognize that these social platforms are here to stay, and we've figured out a way to let these brands reward their users for engagement that happens with their brand on these social media platforms. And the other thing I'll say is around social media and the community aspect. You know, the kinds of experiences that we can create, you know, with Reddit, for example, you have these communities on Reddit and these brands like Game of Thrones. There's probably a Game of Thrones community on Reddit. I'm not a part of it, but I can
There
assume that
is.
there is. And so, yeah. And so, you know, I feel passionately that Max, Warner Bros. Discovery, is losing out on some of the fandom and the ability to have some of these community experiences on their own operated platform, right? So, and when you bring some of that capability into your owned and operated platform, it does create, again, tying back to the advertising and sponsorship point, it creates more inventory for these brands to monetize what's already happening, and you're just asking those fans to talk about it on your platform versus on Reddit's platform that's getting the traffic. So we're helping these brands launch these community experiences on their owned and operated platform in a scalable way, so that they don't have to lose that traffic and fandom on external platforms. Why not have it on your owned and operated platform? So those are the two things that resonated, or at least came to mind when you mentioned that New York Times article.
Yeah, in going back again, you mentioned the data quite a few times there, and you were also mentioning about it with rewards, and that just stuck in my head because uh, the possibilities that you're getting, not just from, I guess, the information from users interacting with different widgets or polls or quizzes, but like you said, if you're redeeming rewards and they are collecting very certain items, that is all really important information that you can then use again, like you said, for different ad slots or again recommending other content to them and that sort of thing. So it's fascinating to see how much data you can truly you can collect from your users to improve the experience just by adding a little bit of engagement.
Yeah, and I think for broadcasters that are team agnostic, for example, if those broadcasters can get capture that data and start to build a profile around me as a user, starting to assume that I'm a New York Giants fan because I've been rooting for the Giants, I've been talking about the Giants, I'm passionate about the trades that happen with the New York Giants. They can start, you know, feeding that data into an advertising platform that can start personalizing ads for me to sell me Giants merchandise, right? So, but without these kinds of interactive experiences that let these brands capture that first party and zero party data, I don't know that the brand is able to actually start building more detailed profiles to then enhance some of those advertising and marketing tactics.
Yeah, Giants fans, I don't know how excited they are for the upcoming season. I mean, things it's not looking incredible, but they had a nice draft, so we'll see how it goes.
I will say that we will
So
always be Giants fans. You're the thick and thin.
last year was a tough one. It can't. I don't think it gets worse than that. So I think it's always on the up
Yeah.
from here on out.
Yep.
One thing that we often espouse at Excedo here is taking a crawl, walk, run approach to developing your OTT applications. That means, start small, collect information, and then use that to inform the next cycle of your applications. But get your applications out in a way that users can use them and interact. And then once you've gotten a bit more information, then you can start to expand, add some bit more value add components, and really improve the experience for your users. Do you have some thoughts around what a crawl, walk, run approach would be for engagement or interactivity within an OTT platform?
I think that answer would have been different about a year ago for me, just based on what I've seen in the industry, and I think with the evolution of our platform, I think the answer is different now. I'd say any effective strategy needs to include a loyalty and rewards consideration. And that doesn't have to be in the form of points. It doesn't even have to be in the form of status tiers. You can reward a user for actions that they're already taking. For example, if they read 5 articles on your platform in a week, you can have a surprise and delight experience where they get a badge that's now associated to their profile. And they didn't even know that they needed to read 5 articles in a week to get that badge. But that reward is something that now the user is excited. Oh my God, I have this badge. I can show it off to other users. Those are more sometimes can be considered as collectibles. So I'd say any effective crawl should always include a loyalty and rewards element to it. And it doesn't, again, have to be as robust as having a points economy and having a robust tier program. It could just be some rewards. It could be surprise and delights. And we provide, a modular tool set to be able to just launch with whatever you want to launch with. I think enhancing that on the interactive and engagement side, sometimes it's a little daunting, for example, to have live chat in your owned and operated platform because you're afraid of, fans talking smack about the team or the coach or the ownership group or whatnot. And so sometimes launching with chat right out the gate isn't the right approach. And you might want to launch with very simple polls, for example. So a poll can be, how are you feeling today, all the way to, what do you think about the news that just got released, or who are you rooting for? And those polls can be, it doesn't have to be a series of like a survey style, like multiple questions. It could just be something that comes up. The user can dismiss it if they want to. But again, if you show them that they're going to earn 10 points for answering or participating in the poll, that might actually increase your conversion on the user actually participating in the poll. So I think from a crawl and walk perspective, thinking about these in a very simple way to see the adoption rate and the feedback that you get from users, the usage that you get on these, I think could give you a lot of insights to figure out how to pivot or cater your strategy to those insights and learnings to then get to the run phase. And the last thing I'll say is, and you guys at Excedo might also be facing this as well, where a lot of these enterprise clients love to build in house. They don't like to outsource. They don't want to use anything off the shelf. They don't want SaaS platforms. They want to build in house. But I like to usually respond with, in a crawl and walk approach, you could think of our platform as getting to market in a low cost, low effort way that lets you test out with your users if this is something that you guys that resonates with your users before you decide on hiring a team of developers and engineers and product and designers to then build out these features from the ground up, where you have more conviction on these features. And so even using us or thinking of us as a way to get to market faster in a low risk way is also part of how I respond to some of these clients that have that build from scratch mentality. And so, yeah, to your question about crawl, walk, and run, that's how I usually use that crawl and walk approach and say, I know you guys want to launch a loyalty strategy from the ground up. One, I would ask you, is that your bread and butter? Is that what you really want to invest your internal resources on versus outsourcing to an expert that can scale for you and has proven solutions in the market? And also, would you want to use us just to test it out with the market before investing in that approach in your run phase?
Yeah, it's a good point about even just using the insights that they could collect from a SaaS offering like yourselves to then determine how they want to build out the social experiences later on. It's funny, just as we're speaking, this isn't directly related, but it makes me think about Strava and how the workout or the running posting app, where it wasn't originally intended for this, but some users will make designs out of their runs where they'll draw doodles in their geo maps, and that becomes almost a badge of its own. So your users find different ways to use these interactivity components in a way that you might not even entirely realize. So
Yeah.
there's always room for getting some of these insights that might not be originally how you expected things to go, but are actually more engaging in those ways.
Yeah, and I think another real example with us, with our client Yes Network, they initially launched their Yes Rewards program. Obviously, it's built on LiveLike as part of that rewards program, there's a quest system, and quests in our platform are like challenges, like you would know maybe as a gamer, where you have to complete a certain set of tasks to complete the quest and earn a badge or a reward for it. In our rewards program, we have these concept of quests, and initially they launched with quests that were only for interactivity on their platform, but they hadn't considered it for VOD views. They publish, they create, they invest a lot of money in creating original content on their platform to then publish it, and they were getting little to no views on some of these VOD assets. And so they thought to use the Quest system to start incentivizing users to watch specific VOD content. And when they launched those quests, those VOD assets that were previously getting no views were getting hundreds, if not thousands of views in the first couple of weeks. Where now, fast forward to today, they have leaned in on that strategy and have gone to partners and sponsors to guarantee impressions because they're so confident in the Quest system and its ability to incentivize users to watch VOD content. They guarantee impressions, and it became a revenue generating initiative. And so that's an example of one where you might use our loyalty strategy, you might learn some things, maybe have the ability to quickly adapt and experiment just to see what would happen. That could turn into a very successful idea and revenue generating, opportunity that you might not have had the opportunity to do because you built it in house and you don't have the flexibility that you built into the platform, and it's expensive to adjust your resources in house to then scrap what they've had and build something else. You can use our modular platform to pivot in those ways and learn. So yeah, there's been examples across the board for us in that regard with our clients.
That's really fascinating because my next question was going to be about what are some suggestions you have to, I guess, help with churn prevention for content owners. But this is exactly the kind of use case that would help by engaging users to watch more of the content, and they start to get a relationship with more of the actual app overall. They're not just there for the one specific piece of whatever, a live piece of content or sport or one highlight clip. So that's good. Is there anything else that you like to kind of talk about specifically when it comes to maybe some churn prevention options?
I mean, I've mentioned this a few times in this podcast, but I would say loyalty and rewards. And I think, if you were to think about your loyalty programs that you might be associated with, like for me, for example, I'm a big United Airlines loyal customer, and I have built up, a few 100,000 miles over the last decade or so of flying. Knowing that I have that balance of miles, and that it could be used towards tickets in the future for me and my family prevents me from choosing other airlines at this point. And so, not dissimilar to what could be for media and streaming services, if you built up an amount of points that are redeemable for experiences, or you have a certain tier status that you don't want to lose, that alone could be a huge trend prevention mechanism to prevent the user from unsubscribing. And where you might have in your unsubscribed flows, letting the user know as a reminder that you have the silver tier, for example, and you have 59,000 points that you could use to redeem to get access to, a movie screening, for example. Um, that alone could prevent the user from churning, and it's worth the $12 a month, $15 a month to have that, because you're going to continue to get rewards from that brand over time as you build up loyalty. Whereas if you unsubscribe, you'll have to restart from scratch. And so realizing that, it becomes really powerful and a really good tactic to introduce to prevent churn.
It's a great point, just in general, about looking at other businesses or others, I guess, just different sectors, and seeing how they're using rewards and loyalty to engage. It doesn't just have to apply there. We can definitely extend it to OTT. Last question for you. I know we're coming close to time here. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about that's exciting or interesting that's happening for LiveLike right now, or in the engagement space in general, that you just want to mention?
Yeah, I think the rewards store and the rewards platform that we've built recently, and we're continuing to add features to it, is definitely something that we're excited about. I think it creates a lot of opportunities where we are agnostic to fulfillment providers, where it could be in-venue experiences like with the New York Mets, where users can redeem as they get to a certain tier, they get a free hot dog, for example. And I say that out loud, and I know that might sound silly, but hot dogs at ballparks are not cheap, and so being able to redeem a free hot dog as you get to a certain tier, and then getting to the venue or the ballpark and scanning the QR code or the barcode to get that free hot dog, creates endless opportunities now for us where we aren't just tied to digital rewards, and we aren't just tied to free rewards. There's an actual proven ROI for providing users with these exclusive experiences that might be low cost to the business, but high value to the user. And so our ability to have digital and physical rewards in this reward store and rewards platform, working with third-party companies to fulfill them, is something that's really exciting that's going on at LiveLike, and we're excited about the future that holds for LiveLike and its clients. And the other area that excites me is on the mini games that we've been investing in and building, and spin the wheel and trivia, prediction games, Wordle, crossword puzzles, those types of mini games that are hyper casual. You think of companies and brands that have seasonal content or once a week kind of content, where they might have lulls in their engagement throughout the week. These mini games are powerful to create engagement and excitement and competitiveness. For example, where you might not have it, and as we've talked about throughout this podcast, additional engagement has all the benefits that brands should be looking at. And so, yeah, we're excited to continue on this journey of mini games and seeing our clients and their users adopt it, and figuring out where the demand goes from there.
Vishal, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It was a blast to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Neil, for having me, and excited to continue the conversations.
For anyone interested, we'll throw the link to LiveLike's site in the description of this episode. Feel free to check it out. All right, that's it for the podcast. Thank you again for listening. Thanks so much to Vishal for joining in. It was really interesting to kind of talk about some of the potential future concepts around engagement, where the space is going, and just how engagement can be such a broad category and impact the platform in so many different ways. If you're interested in learning more, we'll have a link to LiveLike in the description of this episode. If you'd like to reach out with a question, feel free to send us an email at playback.podcast@exito.tv or reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's all for this time. Thanks. Cheers.